I think I'm strictly an optimist. I think some people might disagree with me, and I'm very hopeful. And I think, I mean, we're both relatively new fathers, right? And I think you have a kid, you start to think in generations, right? It's very much true. And think about their future and think about making sure their future is better than our current present. And I'm optimistic on that path. And you kind of have to be, right? Um, Otherwise, it's like you kind of just go through a doom loop spiral that just will result in doom, I think. Um, but I think it's important to like set expectations appropriately, right? And this goes to my missed expectations of the Nostr build out in a lot of ways, Nostr adoption, and Bitcoin adoption. To be honest, when I was a younger, wide-eyed Bitcoiner, I thought everyone was going to be using Bitcoin as freedom money within 10 years or so, and that was over 10 years ago.
I found
I
some
think
old articles by you, by the way, some very old ones. But I won't disclose them here. But I found they
people
were
can find
like
them.
good.
There's also,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Google exists, but like I was just like, wow, you've come so far. You look better with facial hair now too. I'll say, you know what
Oh
I mean?
yeah, there's that
I can't
one
grow it
cursed
myself, but
that one cursed photo from like 15 years ago that all the haters use against me. Um, but look, it's important to set expectations, right? So I think first of all, the ride or dies are what give me hope, and we should be you should be taking like at least a portion of your time, a significant portion of your time, focused on the ride or dies and enabling other ride or dies to empower themselves. And I think that will make significant scalable change. Because one man can't do it alone, right? But if you empower 10 or 100 and then those 10 or 100 empower another 10 or 100, like that's significant and it compounds on top of each other. I think the second piece, like I said earlier, is meeting people where they're at and having pragmatic trade-off balances and trying not to battle network effect. Um, and I thought of another example while that's tangential to Bitcoin is like Tor, right? Like the Tor browser, you're strictly better from a privacy point of view if everyone's using onion addresses, but way less people would use Tor browser if you couldn't also access the ClearNet on it and just type in a website. And that's a perfect example, I think, of a pragmatic trade-off balance that was made, even though you have worse privacy and security guarantees if you are accessing ClearNet through Tor browser. So there's that piece, focusing on the ride or dies, that piece. But then the third piece is like expectations. Like, what does success of Bitcoin as freedom money look like? It's not more than 5% of the population. Like that's what it is. I maybe in 100 years that we could blow that number out and like the death of fiat or whatever. But I think even in that situation, people will be using Bitcoin in controlled and surveilled ways. So if that's the expectation, then you can actually build realistically towards it. And what I mean there, I think as a hopeful, optimistic person, the way to think about it is in 20 years, 30 years, the overwhelming majority of people will be living in a more dystopia type of situation. But there'll be 5% of us that are living in a more positive, freedom oriented way. And I think focusing on that is key to mental health, because otherwise you get lost in this bullshit. You get lost in these bullshit expectations. And there's a lot of people that want you to get lost in them, right? Because from like an influencer point of view, saying that everyone will be free, saying that you don't have to take personal responsibility, saying that you don't have to put in any work whatsoever and your life will be better, sells way better. That's saying that some people, you need to take the harder path. Like you want to have a better life, you need to take the harder path and you will be rewarded for it.
this just makes me think also in terms of, because I agree with you on those percentages as well. And maybe those are even more like those are, I think those are optimist, like 5% is an
It's very
optimistic
high.
percent. Like it's that,
Yeah.
like that's your optimist is showing, but that's a good thing, right? It's better to aim for the stars and fall amongst the treetops. But I'm curious from that adoption perspective, we touched earlier just briefly on sort of the insudification of Bitcoin. Now, who's trapped in the room with whom, it remains to be seen. And kind of want to get into that a little bit, but also from the store of value versus medium of exchange perspective. Like this is something that is, this debate's been around obviously for, well, a lot longer than I've been in Bitcoin. I haven't been in Bitcoin that long. I'm getting there now. Few years, people be like, you're an OG if you got in the 2020s. Like it's all relative, right? But personally, I try to use Bitcoin as a medium of exchange as much as I can. Like I use it every day on Nostr just to zap value for value. I also try to spend it online whenever I have the option. I try to spend it in person whenever I have the option. It's easy at conferences, harder in day-to-day life, but like I go to Steak and Shake a lot since they've got tallow fries and grass-fed beef. And I spend Bitcoin when I go there. And I'm really happy to do that. And yes, guys, I replace it right away. Don't worry. But there's a lot of folks who seem to be under the impression that medium of exchange adoption is actually not like that just saving in Bitcoin is enough. Saving in Bitcoin is using. And I agree that it's using. Like yes, store value is one of the functions of it, right? Personally, I just think that if like people should make an effort, again, do what you want with your money, but you should make an effort to spend Bitcoin, and medium of exchange adoption is very much needed for Bitcoin to achieve what it needs to achieve. Where are you at with that?
Yeah, I mean, the answer is it's both. And it's always been both. It always will be both. Like good money should increase in purchasing power over time. So anyone who tells you like price doesn't matter, like price is one of the most important metrics. And then the second piece is you should be able to spend without permission. Because if you can't spend your wealth without permission, you have no wealth. It's fundamentally an IOU. That's the key. Both are key aspects to what makes Bitcoin better money. Now, the question is on a level of urgency, is it urgent to try and fight that network effect and build, try and just like bull rush Bitcoin as a payment method? And I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I think it kind of just comes with time. I mean, look, through the years, more and more of my savings has become Bitcoin, right? And to the point where I'm pretty much 100% Bitcoin, right? Like I have like a small float in dollars because I'm running a family and businesses and shit. And dollars are what people accept in most places. Can't pay my mortgage with Bitcoin yet. But as a result, like I prefer to spend Bitcoin. Like it skips a step. Otherwise I need to, otherwise I'm selling Bitcoin $2 and then spending the dollars somewhere, right? It flips the equation from, oh, I'm receiving dollars and then I need to convert it to Bitcoin and then spend. And when that's the case, like I see why people aren't doing it. So it's a little bit of a chicken and the egg situation. But yeah, I think look, good money you need to be able to spend and save it without permission. Both are valid use cases. Both are complementary to each other. But I would say, while I don't think there's necessarily the hugest level of urgency on trying to bull rush Bitcoin payments adoption when people aren't ready for it necessarily, we do need to be very careful of just like completely discarding it and being like, oh, people should just have Bitcoin in their Charles Schwab account and never be able to spend it. Because once again, then it's not your wealth and you're eroding one of the key properties of Bitcoin. And you're not expanding the actual base of people that are holding real Bitcoin as freedom money, which is key. It's like this remnant base that keeps the system in check in a lot of ways, right? Like the cool part about Bitcoin is that no one can change it easily. Like that's one of the core fundamental values. And a hard to measure property of that, I think, is a wide distributed base of people holding and using real Bitcoin, using their own nodes, holding their own keys, spending it without permission. And so like we have to be very careful that, I think we do have to be careful that that percentage of those people in the entire system isn't negligible, right? It's already small, to be clear. Like it's definitely more people are using custodial stuff, specifically suit custodial stuff like ETFs and MSTR and the clones and whatnot. But on the bright side, the absolute number of people using Bitcoin as freedom money and building on top of Bitcoin as freedom money has never been higher, like from an absolute number. So if that started trending down, that I think would be a concern in a big way.